So in programming, an instruction that performs different computations or actions depending on whether a condition is true or false is known as a conditional statement. So these are the examples of a condition. Does 5 equals to 10? Does a cat bark? Does 10 greater than 2? So these are the statements, the conditional statements. Okay? No, I'm sorry, not the conditional statement. This is the these are the conditions, and then your future actions will be depending on these conditions. For example, you can also have a piecewise function. For example, you have something about modulus. So modulus of x or the absolute value of x can be regarded as a piecewise function. For example, it will be x if x is greater than or equals to 0, and it will be minus x if x is less than 0. Can you see the reason why? It is because, let's say if we have minus 4, so the absolute value will be 4. Am I right? Positive 4. So we substitute our argument here into x, so it will eventually become minus 4. So the output of the function will be 4. Let's say if we have a positive value 4, and is even the condition here. So you have two conditions, condition number 1 and condition number 2. So depending on your conditions, you have a specific action based on the corresponding condition. So if x is greater than or equal to 0, then your action is to give positive x. And then if x is less than 0, then your action, your next action will be minus x. So things like that, yeah? So this is an example of the conditional statement. For example, here you want to know what kind of artist are you. So this is your condition, and then your decision will be based on the question here. And then you have another condition here. Can you write? For example, this me myself. What can you draw? Well, I can actually draw, but I'm not good at drawing. So I can just say yes. Can you write? Yes. Are you funny? I don't think I'm funny. So I am not funny. This is so going in time in the comic. So journal cartoonist. Yeah, I am the journal cartoonist. You know? Because my drawing is bad. And yeah, it fits me, yeah? Journal cartoonist. I don't know whether you have a software from Photoshop. Is it Photoshop? No, not Photoshop. Adobe InDesign. Is it Adobe? I'm not sure. I can't remember. But it is ubiquitous. It is somewhere. It is mentioned everywhere on the internet. I mean, this software here, InDesign. So if you have one, or it is a package or packaged by Adobe. So yeah, if you have a Photoshop, then you'll become the Microsoft Painter and whatsoever. You have to choose your decision based on the conditions. Okay, this is an example. This is an example of a nested conditional statement. So meaning to say nested means you have another conditional statement inside a conditional statement. You can also have a conditional statement inside a conditional statement inside another conditional statement, and so on. So it is called as the nested conditional statements. For example, here, suppose that we want to create a Python function that evaluates the following piecewise function. This is a piecewise function, yeah? The reason why we call this as a piecewise function is because, let's say if I draw the x-axis, and then I have minus x, and then it will, and then next, this is when x is less than equal to 0, and then it will stagnate at -5. No, not here. So maybe here minus, oh, sorry, -5 is below, -5. And then when x equals to 0, oh, I see, it's over here, not here. And then when x is greater than 0, it will be x. So it will become like that again. This is just an example, yeah? So it will meet somewhere here. So it is a piecewise because you divide the function into chunks, into a few fractions. So the first fraction is this one, the second is this one, and the third is this one. Okay, I hope you guys understand this. I think you have learned this during your foundation or matriculation. So to evaluate this, let's say if I have my function as the function name, which is f lah, okay, which is f. Then x is your input because you have x over here, here. So based on your condition, okay, based on your condition, your action will be different based on the function definitions here, okay? So again, I repeat, again, that's the reason why I ask you to keep on doing the practice because you see, if I proceed teaching you, I suppose you need to already understood what we have learned before. I'm expecting that you already have the topics that we have learned before in your mind and in your heart. Because you see, because when I proceed, let's say if you don't practice using the Python function, and then here the statement here and here cannot be understood by you, then it's going to be a big problem. I mean, your learning process will become overloaded with something that is not covered by you yet. So yeah, that's the reason why I keep on practice again and again, yeah. So this is an example of the function definition, yeah. When I mention call the function means use the function. You use the function. The reason why I use the word or the term call, it is because that particular term, which is call, is ubiquitous in programming. Ubiquitous means it appears everywhere in programming. Because later, if I don't teach you about the term, when you try to refer doing the programming on the internet, when you try to search on Google, you'll discover that many programmers, they posted their solution and then they mention the word call, invoke, and whatsoever. So that's the reason why I need you to familiarize yourself with the word call. So if I say call the function 3 times, then meaning to say you have to use the function 3 times. Okay? So that's my advice. So here I define return value as a float because of course the output of the function will be a number. So Python knows that a number is a float. If x is less than 0, then the return value is equal to minus x, which correspond to the first statement here. Okay, and then if x is equals to 0, then you'll have the minus 5. So here I made a mistake again. I apologize. It should be minus 5. And then x. And the last one is x. So the return value, the last statement here is where the return value is equals to x. You can also use elif x is greater than or equal to 0 over here. But if you are lazy enough, like me, I don't really bother because I know that other than this and this, it will be this one left. So I'll just use else, okay? Return the value of x. And then finally, once you have acquired or once you have evaluated the returning value, and then you put the returning value into a variable here. For example, here I put the returning value into the return underscore value variable here. What I need to do finally is to return the value. I need to return the value which is stored inside the variable here, because this is a value returning function, so it will be returning a float. This is not a subroutine. Remember I mentioned to you last week about subroutine? So subroutine is just an execution where you save your execution, you save the block of code as a function that does not returning any that does not return any values. Okay, so that is a subroutine. You just execute without giving out the output, without giving the returning value. Okay, so next, this is the function body. I suppose you have learned this before. So you have to have the indentation here. You have to put the tab character here, another tab character, and then next you have to have the double tab character to specify that this is another block which is inside or which is between if and elif over here. So this is the function body, and then this is the conditional if-else block. So this is another block which is also under the function. So I need you to identify that we have the first level of indentation here for this particular block. And then next, we have the keywords. So this is the key. These are the keywords. If, elif, else, and then return. It goes like this. Yeah. So it begins with if, and then elif, and then else. So elif here is optional. Same goes to else here. It is optional. Okay. Whether you put or you don't put elif, so it's up to you. It depends on your situation. It depends on your execution or your intention. What's your intention? Is there any other conditions? If there's no other conditions, then just don't put elif. Okay. And then else is something that, let's say if you have a set of conditions. So the thing is, I need to mention to you, yeah. So you have to have another, you have to make sure that the execution leads to a solution. Meaning to say, for example, yeah, here you have three fractions. I mean, three statements. So this is the first statement. Okay, this is the first one, and this is the second one, and this is the third one. So make sure that you cover all of the possibilities. For example, here I'm covering all possibilities, yeah, because x is a real value, ranging from minus infinity towards the positive infinity. So here, all of my conditions here will be covering the entire real axis. So here I have x less than 0, which is essentially from minus infinity towards 0. And I'm covering for x equals to 0. And then next I'm covering for the entire positive real axis, which is the from 0 to the positive infinity. To make sure you cover all possibilities. Otherwise, it will lead to, I don't know how to say, it will lead to a program error. Okay, it's like your program is leaking. It's like a leaking of information. For example, if I just put this guy and this guy, and then I do not specify this one, for example, yeah, just an example. For here, I'm not covering all possibilities. I only cover the negative real axis. And then if the code user put a value of x which lies on the positive real axis, then it will become an error, am I right? So so it depends on the situation. Sometimes it leads to nothing, sometimes it leads to an error. So it depends, really. You have to practice and then see the effects. Huh? I don't know how to say. I mean, I can only tell you the theoretical background, but I cannot transfer you my experience, because in order to gain the experience, you yourself have to try an error. You have to try, you have to do the coding, and then you understand what I meant. Okay. Any questions so far regarding this? So here I am highlighting the conditions. Okay. There are 3 conditions, 1, 2, and 3. So there are 3 outcomes here. So this is the these are the action blocks. Okay, I have the first block, which is the action. This is the first block, which is the action due to the first condition, and then I have another action block, which is due to the second condition, and then I have my last action block, which is due to the third action to the third condition here. Remember, all blocks must be indented. So if you forgot to put the indentations, then it will lead to syntax error. So you can also have a nested if-else block, like I've mentioned before, like the diagram regarding the what type of illustrator. I can't remember the question. So you can also have a conditional block inside a conditional block inside another conditional block. For example, here I have my first level if-else block, which is over here, here, and here. And then somewhere inside the action block here, we have another conditional statement. Okay, but still remember to indent your action block. Yeah, I hope you can get the idea here. So this is the nested block. Okay, nested is like this. Yeah, something is enclosing inside something. Okay, it depends on how many levels do you have. If you have 3 levels of if you have 3 levels of nested if-else block, then you have another one. You have another conditional statement over here, or maybe over here, or maybe over here. Okay. For example, if you want to see the real code, the one that I'm using now, the one that I'm doing now, For example, well, I don't really have a nested if-else block here, but I only have the nested loop. This is the nested loop. Later you will learn about loop, yeah, on Friday. So I have one loop and then another loop inside the loop. So it's a loop inside the loop, inside another loop, inside another loop. So it's basically the nested loop. But if I say the nested if-else block, then it is if-else block inside another if-else block. I hope you get the idea. I don't know how to explain. Huh? I don't know. So maybe some of you guys can also try to help your friends explaining this, maybe on Telegram, or maybe you share in the chat and whatsoever. It's important to have such discussions. Yeah. Okay. Okie dokie. So this is the inner block. This is the outer block. Okay. So not necessarily. Okay. Let's say if you have 3 levels, then you have you have inner block number 1, and then and so on. I don't know how to explain this, but the thing is, for this particular case, this is the inner block. This is the outer block. So that's all for the for the nested if-else statement. Do you have any specific questions before we end the lecture?